Good morning, true Conservatives. You are the heart and soul of the Conservative Party. Today, this conference is the only one where you, the ordinary members, are going to get a vote. That is democracy. That is what we're about. And let me thank, on your behalf, David Campbell-Bannerman, who has put his head above the parapet to fight with us, to fight to get that true democracy in the party. Not only now, but throughout the year, he's been putting his head there, and something which few politicians dare to do. They all come to me in private and say, "We support you, John." But when I say, "But will you say it publicly?" "Oh, well, it's a bit difficult. I don't want to upset Brandon," they say. Ladies and gentlemen, the title of my talk today is "Could the United Kingdom become a dictatorship and nobody notice?" If Corbyn got into power, we might get a dictatorship, but you would notice. And the problem we have is, could it happen under a Conservative party? Yeah. Last month, as Amrex often do, I was looking on the Electoral Commission website at the Conservative Party's balance sheet and accounts. And I looked at those, for the accounts for the year ending 31st December 2015. And the very last note in the accounts is a heading called Controlling Interest. And I tell you what it says. It says, as described on page 7, the board of the Conservative Central Office is responsible for the management and administration of the Conservative Central Office. All pretty standard stuff. And then I looked at the accounts for the year ended 31st December 2016. Controlling party, note, and added to that standard phrase was this. Not today, thank you. And the leader of the party is considered to be a person of significant control due to the right to appoint or remove a majority of the board of the party. Yeah. Did you know that?
No.
Did anybody raise it? Did the media notice it?
No.
But suddenly, in the notes of the party's accounts, the leader has now got this right. What happened in 2016? Well, actually, we got a new leader, because David Cameron resigned and Theresa May became the leader of the party. And you know, under Part 4, Clause 17 of the party's constitution, the board of the Conservative Party shall have the power to do anything which in its opinion relates to the management and administration of the party. It makes the rest of the party's constitution not worth the paper it's written on. And don't forget, it was that clause that they used at the general election to impose candidates on constituencies, in total contradiction to the entire section about selection of parliamentary candidates. So it is used. But if we have given significant control to the leader, that means that the leader has the power to do anything which in her opinion relates to the management and administration of the party. Leadership elections, candidate selection, membership, party conference, the leader decides. So we now have a Prime Minister who is not elected to that position by the people, was not elected to that position by the members of her own party, but has significant control over that party. In addition to which, because under our representative system, it is the leader of the largest party that is called on to form the government. We did not get a majority, but we had the largest party. And so, because of the power of Prime Minister in this country, £1 billion was offered to the Ulster Unionists for their 10 votes. In addition to which, because we have the royal prerogative, the Prime Minister also has a payroll vote of over 100 MPs, makes appointments to various bodies, including the House of Lords. 192 members of the House of Lords are former members of the House of Commons, and now sitting in the House of Lords, getting their £300 a day, tax-free for life. Nice work if you can get it. And a big incentive to support the leader of the party. At the general election, I live in Beaconsfield, and I received an election address from our local Conservative candidate, and that election address never once mentioned the Conservative Party. It was Theresa May's party. Oh, yes, there's that one other thing. Big changes can be made in the party. For example, the party leader can and did create 10 vice chairmen of the party and paid them £10,000 per annum in remuneration. Did the membership get consulted on that? Were we asked about it? No, because there is no general meeting either at which the accounts of the party are adopted and the members can raise questions on those accounts. And then, to top it all, the Conservative Party went into a general election with a manifesto put together by the leader and a couple of aides. No input from the members of the party, no input from the members of Parliament, Conservatives, no input even from the Cabinet. Do you see where I'm going? Are we, if I told you that story about a South American country, you'd turn to me and say, oh, great, it's a dictatorship. And yet, we haven't noticed it. Nothing in the media about all this. Today, the Conservative Party faces an unprecedented existential threat. And that threat arises because there is a wide gap between the hierarchy of the party board and the parliamentary party, and that gap is between them and ordinary party members. The hierarchy of the party includes the leader, the party chairman, the deputy chairman, treasurer, vice chairman, none of whom have been elected by all the members of the party. And the backbenchers in the party are reliant on the hierarchy for their promotion within the party and in government, and so are mainly deferential to the leadership. And that gap between the membership and the hierarchy has been growing now for some 20 years, since the introduction of the party's constitution in 1998. And the classic illustration as to the gap is that 70% of the hierarchy and the parliamentary party supported remaining in the European Union, whilst 70% of the members of the party wanted to leave the European Union. And if we do not leave the European Union on the terms that are acceptable to the members of the party, in my view, my belief, large numbers of the party will leave. And hence we have existential threats. How have we arrived at such an appalling situation? Once the 1998 Constitution was brought in, Conservative Central Office began to demolish all lines of communication between the members of the party and the hierarchy. All the checks and balances which existed prior to that 98 Constitution were abolished. Do you know, pre-1998, the party conference was our party conference. It was organised and run by the National Union of Voluntary Associations. The members ran the party conference. And we invited the leader and ministers to speak to it. There were motions for debate. And we had votes at the end of them. And every constituency which put in a motion, they were published in a handbook so that we all could see the views of the voluntary party throughout the entire nation. And then CCHQ, Central Office, took over. And 1999 was the last party conference at which we had motions for debate. I find that disgraceful. The Central Council of Voluntary Members met twice a year, and the party chairman and other ministers used to attend. It consisted of several thousand members, including representatives from the Women's Organisation, the Young Conservatives, and others, at which motions for debate on party organisation were taken. It was abolished. The National Union Executive Committee, addressed by the party leader, often had elected members from the membership. It was abolished. Regional meetings for party members, which used to be held 4 times a year and had officers elected by the members and motions for debate, they were abolished with 1 or 2 exceptions. Regional meetings of the Conservative Political Centre, which had officers elected by the members and which discussed policy issues, they were abolished. The National Committee of the Conservative Political Centre, which had members elected by the membership of the party and had meetings with the leader, guess what? It was abolished. And a new Conservative Political Forum was set up under Oliver Letwin, and for years it did nothing. The annual conference of the Conservative Political Centre, which any member could attend and discuss policy with ministers, was abolished. In other words, all the lines of communication between ordinary party members and the party hierarchy were eliminated. Can you believe it? In a modern 21st century democratic party, that this kind of thing could happen. And the main reason for that 98 Constitution was that Central Office wanted to control Conservative MPs. And they wanted control of candidates. Prior to the Constitution, 98 Constitution, constituency associations had effective control of their candidates in a general election. They chose them. And the issue came to a head in the general election of 1997, when Central Office sent Robin Hodgson, the then chairman of the National Union, to Tatton to ask the Constituency Association to drop Neil Hamilton as their candidate. The Tatton Association refused, and Hamilton was defeated by Martin Bell. Central Office determined that that should never happen again, and they were determined to take control. And this came to light and came to a head in the general election of 2005, when Howard Flatt had the Conservative whip withdrawn, but not only that, he was not allowed to be a candidate. He was eliminated off the candidates list. And under the new constitution, if you're not on the list, you can't be a Conservative candidate. His association wanted him to be their candidate. And the party chairman then visited them and said to them that unless they dropped in their status, they would be put into support status as a constituency, and Sir Roberts would move in and take control. So they backed off, and Howard Flite stood down, threatening legal action against the party. He then dropped the legal action, and 5 years later he was given a peerage. The original party board consisted of 6 people appointed by the leader, plus 2 members of parliament from the 1922 committee. In other words, they controlled 8 out of the 17 members of the board, the leader did. And what happened in 2009, the parliamentary party backbenchers were very uneasy as to what had happened to Howard Flite. And they wanted to strengthen their position. And so they persuaded the party to change its constitution and to add 2 more members from the 22 committee onto the party board. Unfortunately, they hadn't thought this through, because by adding these 2 members, the party leader now controlled 6 people plus the 4 MPs, making 10 out of a party board of 19. In other words, the leader had now got control. And fairly soon after this, the MPs realised what a mistake they'd made. And I was approached by Graham Brady, the chairman of the 22 committee, and asked if I could do anything about this, because the backbenchers were feeling even more uneasy now. And I drafted a motion for the National Convention which included the following point. No sitting member of Parliament shall be removed from the candidates list without the prior approval of the executive of the 1922 committee. I told the then chairman of the National Convention that I was doing this, Jeremy Middleton, and everything went quiet. And I didn't hear any more, so the motion got dropped. Because the clause strengthened the position of a sitting member of Parliament, and I also included clauses to take away the powers, that all-embracing power of the party board to override anything. So the leader not only controls the members of Parliament, but through the party board controls anyone who wishes to become a member of Parliament, because the board appoints the chairman of the candidates committee. And it's the candidates committee who determines who shall be a Conservative candidate. And that's a very dangerous situation. It means that half a dozen people are effectively determining who should be candidates for the Conservative Party, which effectively determines who becomes Conservative members of Parliament, which effectively determines who shall become the members of the government of the day. You just think about that. And final point on this, the Conservative Party Constitution in 1998 gave total control of the party to the party hierarchy. And in the 20 years since that date, there have been 5 general elections. And the Conservative Party has won one of them.
Yes.
In the 20 years prior to this constitution coming in, when the voluntary party had control over candidates, when it had a conference in which we had motions for debate, when it ran the CPC, there were 5 general elections. And the Conservative Party won 4 of them. What does that tell you? You know, we're told to become a member of the Conservative Party because you can elect the leader of the party. But every single leadership election, there has been interference, right from the very beginning. William Hague brought in the Constitution, and in his own Constitution, he didn't stand for leader with competition. No, he asked the party members to anoint him as leader. And then in 2001, Michael Portillo was the front runner, and the MPs wanted the runoff to be between him and Ian Duncan Smith. So, in that Machiavellian way, they transferred votes from Portillo to Duncan Smith, and the end result was that King Clark sneaked through and beat Portillo by 1 vote, and so the contest was between Clark and Ian Duncan Smith. In 2003, we had a leadership election when they got rid of Ian Duncan Smith, but there was only one candidate, Michael Howard. So the party members didn't get a vote. In 2005, when Michael Howard stood down, he then proceeded to try and change the constitution of the party so that the members could only choose the short list, but didn't have the final say as to who should be leader. Unfortunately, the members kicked up about that, and that change to the constitution was defeated. And then, in 2016, we had another leadership election when David Cameron resigned, but only one name came forward, so the members didn't get a vote. Not a very good record, is it, for democracy in the party? And I have mentioned, I'm coming to an end. This is really the end bit. We, as Conservatives, believe in an economy based on free markets, free trade, minimum intervention by the state, low taxation, a society based on reciprocal rights and responsibilities, respect for law and order and strong defence. We seem to have forgotten all these principles. Now we have regulation upon regulation upon regulation, whether it be gender equality, equal pay, minimum wage, living wages, labels on cigarette packs, labels on drinks. We can even told how much sugar we're allowed to drink. I'm reminded of Hayek's book, The Road to Serfdom, when he explains that at the end of the road, after regulation upon regulation, we end up with a totalitarian state, tyranny, and dictatorship. And I'm afraid, standing today, I can see the end of the road. If we have a Prime Minister, and if the Prime Minister pursues her goal of the Chequers Agreement, in the face of 17 million voters who voted to leave, in the face of the large number of Conservative members of Parliament, in the face of a sizable majority of party members, then she will be showing all the characteristics of a dictator. If it looks like a duck, it squawks like a duck, it walks like a duck. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a duck. And now, before it is too late, it is time for the Conservative Party to create a democratic party to save not only itself, but democracy in this United Kingdom. We can start by having an annual general meeting to which all party members are invited. We can elect the party chairman, the deputy chairman, the treasurer, the chairman of candidates, the chairman of the Conservative Policy Forum. We can make them accountable to the membership. We can have a party conference at which we can table motions for debate and which they are then counted. We must have a constitution which can be amended on the basis of one member, one vote. So I look to you, ladies and gentlemen, today to raise the flag of freedom, liberty, democracy and justice, to raise this flag over this conference, to raise this flag over the Houses of the Parliament. Let us be the party of the people. Let the grassroots grow. Let the swallows soar. And together we can ride this rainbow of opportunity and create a party to be proud of. A democracy that our children and grandchildren can be proud of. That is the task that I set today. That is the task I ask you to join with me, and together we can pursue that great future. Thank you.